Hi, I'm Emily. Welcome to the Journey of Miracles, where we study together the Course of Miracles, and I take you on the journey of unwrapping this holy text, this incredible book that was brought to us, and walking the road together towards greater inspiration and meaning in our lives together. I actually have a broad spiritual background. I'm a Universalist. I've studied Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, all sorts of different types of spiritual concepts. And I've landed at being a Universalist, which means I believe that together, combined, all these different faiths make a truth, a different level of truth. And in that journey of searching for meaning, I came across A Course in Miracles. And this is an unbelievable book. It's sort of a modern holy text. The author never states who they are, but by pretty easy powers of deduction, you can figure out that it's Jesus. And it sort of combines all of these faiths together, and it's the first text I looked at that just makes so much logical sense. And the more I've studied it, the more my life has transformed, and I want to share that. So together, if you're here, there are no accidents. So welcome. I'm so excited to be on this journey with you. And really, I'm just here to talk about what inspiration I have around this book, to teach it to, I will do the workbook, the daily lessons. There will be one each day. We'll walk that together. If you're interested in studying it, you really have to combine studying the text with the workbook. So you do the daily lessons, and then you can sort of read the text, or I will continue to post videos about various portions of the text. I'll read them, and I will teach on them as we go, as ever I feel moved to. Because the truth is, the Holy Spirit needs to guide this journey, not me. And you'll see what that's all about as we dig into it. So first, I just want to give an overview of the book as given in the book. Sometimes it's hard to sit down and read, so I'm going to read to you in this process. So here's the preface. And this is how it came about. A Course in Miracles began with the sudden decision of two people to join in a common goal. Their names were Helen Schuckman and William Thetford, professors of medical psychology at Columbia University's College of Physicians and Surgeons in New York City. It does not matter who they were, except that the story shows that with God, all things are possible. They were anything but spiritual. Their relationship with each other was difficult and often strained, and they were concerned with personal and professional acceptance and status. In general, they had considerable investment in the values of the world. Their lives were hardly in accord with anything that the Course advocates. Helen, the one who received the material, describes herself: psychologist, educator, conservative in theory, and atheist in belief. I was working in a prestigious and highly academic setting, and then something happened that triggered a chain of events I could never have predicted. The head of my department unexpectedly announced that he was tired of the angry and aggressive feelings our attitudes reflected, and concluded that there must be another way. As if on cue, I agreed to help him find it. Apparently, this course is the other way. So I think it's important to say that, these are doctors of the mind that when searching for something to help heal the mind, because what they were practicing didn't appear to be working. And I think we can really experience that today. I don't know about you, but I've just had this feeling that something's wrong with the world and the way I perceive it. I was diagnosed with many mental health issues when I was younger, and I took medication and tried to do all those sort of traditional ways to address the issues. And I never really found comfort or success in those methods. But now, walking the spiritual path, I found myself completely transformed. And I'm not suggesting anyone get off medication or anything like that. You do you and what works for you. But there's something to be said for a treatment of the mind that works. Because mental health is definitely a current topic. And I think what we've found to treat mental disease has not worked. This has worked for me, and hopefully it will work for you. And I think it's important to ground it in, again, that medical doctors studying at the very prestigious place on mental health and how to heal the mind, actually, this program came through them when they realized that that just wasn't working. And one powerful thing that always comes through the Course is that when we ask, there's an answer. And so essentially by them saying this isn't working, let's look for another way, they made an ask of the Holy Spirit. What is another way? Although their intention was serious, they had great difficulty in starting out on their joint venture, but they had given the Holy Spirit the little willingness that, as the course itself was to emphasize again and again, is sufficient to enable him to use any situation for his purpose and provide it with his power. To continue Helen's first-person account, 3 startling months preceded the actual writing, during which time Bill suggested that I write down the highly symbolic dreams and descriptions of the strange images that were coming to me. Although I had grown more accustomed to the unexpected by that time, I was still very surprised when I wrote, "This is A Course in Miracles." That was my introduction to the voice. It made no sound, but seemed to be giving me a kind of rapid inner dictation, which I took down in a shorthand notebook. The writing was never automatic. It could be interrupted at any time and later picked up again. It made me very uncomfortable, but it never seriously occurred to me to stop. It seemed to be a special assignment I had somehow, somewhere, agreed to complete. It represented a truly collaborative venture between Bill and myself, and much of its significance, I am sure, lies in that. I would take down what the voice said and read it to him the next day, and he typed it from my dictation. I expect he had his special assignment too. Without his encouragement and support, I would have never been able to fulfill mine. The whole process took about 7 years. The text came first, then the workbook for students, and finally the manual for teachers. Only a few minor changes have been made. Chapter titles and subheadings have been inserted in the text, and some of the more personal references that occurred at the beginning have been omitted. Otherwise, the material is substantially unchanged. This was written, by the way, in, I think, 1977. The preface was written in 1977. The book itself, this little bit of the book, I didn't want to carry the whole book up here. I'm in the middle of the mountains. Let's see on here. 1976. It was written in 1976. The names of the collaborators in the recording of the course do not appear on the cover because the course can and should stand on its own. It is not intended to become the basis for another cult. Its only purpose is to provide a way in which some people will be able to find their own internal teacher. And that's what this is about. There's no money involved. There's no nothing. This is about each of us finding our own internal teacher so that we can live happily and find meaning. What it is. As its title implies, the course is arranged throughout as a teaching device. It consists of 3 books, a 669-page text, a 488-page workbook for students, and a 92-page manual for teachers. The order in which students choose to use the books and the ways in which they study them depend on their particular needs and preferences. So I'll be sharing this in the way that I feel inspired to. You do what you will. The curriculum the course proposes is carefully conceived and is explained step by step at both the theoretical and practical levels. It emphasizes application rather than theory and experience rather than theology. It specifically states that a universal theology is impossible, but a universal experience is not only possible, but necessary. Although Christian in statement, the course deals with universal spiritual themes. It emphasizes that it is but one version of the universal curriculum. There are many others, this one differing from them only in form. They all lead to God in the end. So to be clear, this is not you can be any faith and any background and any spirituality, any religion, and still study this course. It is not exclusive in any way. As it says, they all lead to God in the end. The text is largely theoretical and sets forth the concepts on which the course's thought system is based. Its ideas contain the foundation for the workbook's lessons. Without the practical application the workbook provides, the text would remain largely a series of abstractions, which would hardly suffice to bring about the thought reversal at which the course aims. The workbook includes 365 lessons, one for each day of the year. It is not necessary, however, to do the lessons at that tempo, and one might want to remain with a particularly appealing lesson for more than one day. The instructions urge only that not more than one lesson a day should be attempted. The practical nature of the workbook is underscored by the introduction to its lessons, which emphasize experience through application rather than a prior commitment to a spiritual goal. In other words, practice makes perfect. One thing I love about this course is so many things that you realize in language, in music, in movies are speaking from the Holy Spirit and giving us sort of this constant encouragement. Some of the ideas the workbook presents you will find hard to believe, and others may seem quite startling. This does not matter. You're merely asked to apply the ideas as you're directed to do. You are not asked to judge them at all. You are only asked to use them. It is their use that will give them meaning to you and will show you that they are true. One thing I love about this book is it says you don't have to believe it's true, it will demonstrate it's true itself. As I stated, really the basis for this idea is that we're kind of in a matrix environment where what we think is reality isn't actual reality, but because we're created in God's image, we're tiny creators, what we believe in and what we have faith in becomes real for us. And so this course is going to try to teach us to unlearn what we've learned so that the real world can be revealed to us, which is basically all love, no death, all beauty. And Jesus was its original teacher. He basically broke the code. He's sort of that first Neo from the Matrix and broke out of it. But a lot of us are just not there yet. And it's time for us to start experiencing the joy and forgiveness and peace that we are destined to experience together. Remember only this: you need not believe the ideas, you need not accept them, and you need not even welcome them. Some of them you may actively resist. None of this will matter or decrease their efficacy. But do not allow yourself to make exceptions in applying the ideas the workbook contains, and whatever your reactions to the ideas may be, use them. Nothing more than that is required. So if you want to change your perception and break out of the matrix, basically, just do the lessons, and it doesn't matter whether you agree with them or not. You're not asked to agree with them. And again, you can practice any faith or religion that you want. You can be atheist, but if you practice them, you will get some results. And again, I'll be recording every daily lesson. Einstein, sit. This is my dog. He's with me. Say hello, Einstein. But I'll be recording all of the lessons every day and posting them. So rather than having to read it alone, you can do it with me if you'd like, if that helps. And I'll be reading them aloud and demonstrating. Finally, the Manual for Teachers, which is written in question and answer form, provides answer to some of the more likely questions a student might ask. It also includes a clarification of a number of the terms the course uses, explaining them within the theoretical framework of the text. The course makes no claim to finality, nor are the workbook lessons intended to bring the students' learning to completion. So in other words, you're not going to bring your learning to completion through the year of workbook lessons. You're making a start. At the end, the reader is left in the hands of his or her own internal teacher, who will direct all subsequent learning as he sees fit. While the course is comprehensive in scope, truth cannot be limited to any finite form, as is clearly recognized in the statement at the end of the workbook, which is this: this course is a beginning, not an end. No more specific lessons are assigned, for there is no more need of them. This is how the workbook ends. Henceforth, hear but the voice for God, which is the terminology used for the Holy Spirit, which is basically your internal teacher that God gave you. He will direct your efforts, telling you exactly what to do, how to direct your mind, and when to come to him in silence, asking for his sure direction and his certain word. What it says: nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Isn't that beautiful? That's really the summary of what this whole text is, and I'll repeat it. Nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. So again, I always like to compare the concept that's given for reality in this book to the internet. That basically, we're all one mind, we're connected. So you basically have this one internet that's the one mind, and then all these little computers, which are each of us, that connect into the internet. And at some point, basically a virus got uploaded into the computer system and made it all mucky and miserable, and that's where suffering and death comes from. I think so many people say, a loving God could not have created this world, and that's 100% accurate. A loving God wouldn't have created this world. So the other options are this happened by chance, which I've been an atheist, and it takes a lot of faith. I've always said that atheism is the religion that requires the most amount of faith and offers the least return. And no judgment if you're an atheist. But that's another option, right? That this came out of nowhere and is going nowhere. But in my personal experience, I found another truth out there. And so, but anyway, so you can believe God created, which I think is completely illogical, and anything that is of God is logical. 1, 2, that it happened by chance, which is a little tough considering everything that happens. And the third option is that we made this world. And that's the one that I believe is true. And that's really what the course is going off of, that we made this world. So basically this virus got uploaded onto the computers and the internet, and God, in answer to that, gave us a viral, like an antivirus software, essentially, which is the Holy Spirit, which was uploaded into all of our computers and the internet. But the thing is, we have to choose to activate it. We have to choose to use it, and it will heal our minds and clean our minds, which is also what the Course in Miracles is. It's going to sort of clean out your perception from that virus. That's my silly analogy for it. So what it says, nothing real can be threatened. So in other words, nothing real that was really created can be threatened by anything. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. So these things, essentially the destruction and decay that we see, the death that we see, is of things that are not real. They're things that are in the dream. The idea is that things that are actually real cannot die. But since